All right. So welcome everyone. So first, I would like to take a moment to recognize that we are hosting today's presentation on the ancestral unceded homelands of the Akaminem and Squamish-speaking peoples, and to extend appreciation of the opportunity to hold this event on this territory. Okay, one of Higher PhD Career Society's mission to help talent is to help talents with advanced degree navigate careers outside academia. PhDs and masters, we learn so many transferable skills that can be applicable to so many jobs and industries, not just your thesis topic. But the challenge is that in academia, we are not exposed to the job options outside of it. So this talk series objectives showcase stories of people who have made a successful transitions outside of academia to a career path you might or might not know about. And we try to find speakers who you can relate to, who have gone through the real struggles, working hard to make it to where they are today. So I hope that you will come out of the seminar today feeling like, yeah, I can do it too. I can be like Isil. Also, a Higher PhD, we believe in collaboration. So if your organization or you know some organization who might benefit from partnering with us, please reach out to info@higherphd.org. And with that said, we always spend a little bit of time at the beginning of our talks to have our event partners to tell you more about themselves. Our partner today is a Higher PhD Recruiting as well as SPN. So without further ado, we're going to have Isil here. Isil has a PhD in quantum physics, and now he's a software engineer at Electronic Arts. I'll stop sharing, and Isil, you can talk about your story.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you for having me. Now let's see if I can share my screen. All right, so let's see what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna basically give you story of a shill today. I'm a shill. I got a PhD from University of Ottawa in physics. I'm currently a senior software engineer at EA Sports in FC, which is a football club. It replaced FIFA for those that might not know. Just a disclaimer, all opinions are my own, and they do not represent my employers, HR recruiting professionals. This is just what I thought helped me, what I look at when I'm interviewing. So it's just, if something feels off to you, it probably is. So yes, disclaimer. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's start with talking about my journey. I'm just gonna go start from undergrad and step by step go all the way to how I got to EA currently. So little Achille really, really wanted to study physics. That was like a thing from, I don't know, grade 6. I knew I wanted to do physics. That was my lifelong dream. That had to happen. And during undergrad, I found out about ice hockey. So this is pretty important here, because naturally, when you find out about something that's really cool, and I'm from Turkey, and Turkey ice hockey doesn't really go well, At the time, we had only single arena. So I was like, okay, I want to play better hockey. What do? I have to find a way to go to Canada. I started looking for an easiest way to come to Canada through education, right? Masters. I was like, okay, let's apply for masters everywhere, whoever accepts me. So eventually, that's how my academic career all started. I found someone that wanted me, and I just jumped on a plane to do a master's. So my undergrad was mostly like electronics, computational physics, a bit more hands-on, but for master's, I started doing more modeling and theory, and it was, for those that know, it was density functional theory. These are usually packages that are used to do quantum chemistry simulations. And it's basically using those tools to model systems. So that was mainly my master's. I was okay. I was not in love with my master's. I didn't have a good experience. I was like, okay, I want to try to find a job. I want to stay in Canada, obviously. And I started looking for jobs, couldn't find a job. I was like, okay, let's try a PhD then. So then I again found someone that wanted me to do a PhD. And again, this was a lot of modeling and theory, and it was quantum chemistry. But this time, instead of using density functional theory, which is like pre-built tools, I had to build my own tools. I had to build my own software to do simulation. This is the point where I had to think about like optimization, performance, memory, all of those things, because I was solving ginormous systems and it was taking days, and I was killing my PC. So this is the point where I started more hands-on programming, I would say. But again, I'm just doing it on my own. There's like really no, I wouldn't call it software, really. Um, Anyways, I finished my PhD. I actually liked it. I was pretty happy. It was a great PhD. I was like, okay, I want to stay in academia now. um, so started looking for postdocs. I found a postdoc. I went to Edmonton for my postdoc, and again, surprise, more modeling and theory work. So this time I was modeling completely different systems. And then something happened. There was a point where I remember this day very, very clearly. I went to my supervisor's office and we were working on like some derivations, and he was like, oh, okay, let me look at it. And I started looking at it and it was like, oh, this is the first time I'm doing any derivatives and integrals in a while. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy is a genius. He's extremely smart. He's a new tenure track professor. He's first year, like it's been 6 months maybe. And he doesn't get to do things. He's just writing grant applications and managing people. And I was like, okay, I don't want to stay in academia. I don't want my life to become this. That was kind of the turning point for me, where I was like, okay, this person is really great at this, and they don't get to do what they're really, really good at because they stayed in academia. I'm not as good as him, so it's stupid for me to stay in academia. That's basically was my thinking. Also, grant applications, I hate grant application. That was one of the reasons why I also left, because it's everything has to cure cancer somehow, unfortunately. Um, and if you're not curing cancer, then you're not gonna get that grant anyway. So you have to like squeeze in that, yeah, we're gonna cure cancer in there a little bit, which I can't. I really can't. I'm not a salesman. I can't sell. I'm a horrible, horrible salesperson. So okay, then I started applying for jobs, and while I was applying for jobs, I was like, okay, as a physicist, it's very, very hard to find a job. So on the side, I was also working on my StarCraft 2 skills, just in case I can become a streamer. That didn't happen. I'm really bad at like playing video games and talking at the same time. I just end up swearing, and that's it. There's really no entertainment value in there. Anyways, so I started looking for jobs. And so also I have to clarify here that there's this point where in the middle of my PhD where I accepted that I was not going to become a professional hockey player. Also note that there are no women professional hockey players. It's recent, like there are some are getting paid this year, but it took me to my like mid-20s to realize this. But yeah, so this is the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not necessarily staying in Canada for hockey. Yeah, sure, I play hockey, but it's okay. I'm not gonna make a living doing this. All right. So now transitioning to the workforce. I started working at D-Wave. It's a quantum computing company, and I would say it's like kind of a transition point between real life work and academia, just because it's kind of a startup. It does a lot of research, still a lot of like paper publishing, I don't know, going to conferences and presenting. So it was kind of a slow transition for me, maybe because of D-Wave. The way I got in there was like, again, a lot of modeling. I did a lot of modeling. I conducted experiments, did research, a lot of design. I wrote tools. So it was pretty much the same of what I was doing, but it was more in the industry of building something and working with more people, really. But the main difference here was that the scale changed. Once the scale of things changed, where previously in academia it was more me, everything was me, right? It's your PhD, it's your master's, it's your postdoc, whereas with a company, it's for the company. Really, you're managing a lot more people and managing a lot more expectations. Again, there are customers with workforce. There's always going to be a customer. So you're now working more with customers. You can't just keep working on something for long times. You have to be pivoting a lot faster just because you're losing money, basically. And there's a lot of project planning. So it was more interactive. Like I was interacting with humans more. And that also meant, like previously I was just coding on my own, right? It was all my software. Whereas at D-Wave, I was publishing a software for everyone that's using D-Wave to use. Like I wasn't publishing, but I was part of the group or people that was writing software. A lot more people were using it. So there's more collaboration, there are more people. And I would say that's the biggest difference going from, again, this is a slow transition. And even here, going from academia to workforce, things go from like mine to the companies. I'm working for someone and a lot more people. All right. And then there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna stay here. I'm gonna start looking for other jobs. Mainly, one of the reasons is, again, D-Wave is more researchy. Again, there's publishing, there's an academia culture, and I loved the work that I was doing, but I found out that I'm not culturally cut out for academia. I wanted to work for a bigger company where I was far removed from decision making level, where I could just do my own thing day to day, more work-life balance, and so on. Like I would say biggest change is like D-Wave, I don't know, 90% of people have PhDs, I think. So everyone has that ownership, right? It's like everyone is constantly coming from that proving culture where there's no work-life balance with that because you can't keep doing research. There's always more to do. There's always more experiments, more things to do. Anyway, I was like, okay, I'm gonna look for other jobs. I had applied for EA before and got rejected like a gazillion times. And I was like, yeah, let's apply again. I hate commuting. That's like my number one thing. D-Way was 15 minutes walking distance. EA is 12 minutes walking distance. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm applying for EA again. This is my priority. And like I've been there before because my friends work there. Amazing gym, great food. Food is really important for me. Like I'm not gonna be hungry. I can go down and get food. But those are my criteria really when I was looking for outside of academia because it's like a full on change, right? Um, so yeah, I applied to EA. I managed to get a job. I was lucky, and I managed to get a job there. And I worked at FC football club, FIFA at the time, as a system software engineer. And the main reasons why they hired me, I think, was really the problem solving skills. I also knew data analysis. I feel like with any PhD, some sort of data analysis goes in. You don't have to be a full on data analyst, but research comes with data. And then reading documentation and manuals. I'm highlighting this here because some people don't do this. Even though for you it might be very obvious, it's not that obvious for a lot of people. So I was a system software engineer for 2.5 years. Last year, I was a technical lead in the CrossX organization, which is like an organization that encompasses like systems, online tools, like different domains. So that ended up being more risk management, project management, people management, meetings from 8 to 6 p.m. Human. And I was like, I hate my life right now. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is horrible. And I managed to go into the rendering team. Honestly, I have no clue what I'm doing just because I don't have a rendering background, obviously. I somehow managed to convince people that they let me go into the rendering team. I'm there now. I'm doing things like slowly, but yeah, once I figure it out, and if you ask me, I'll let you know. Okay, all right. So also, good news. Middle of like last year, I actually got a job at Kenlan as a coach. So I'm also a hockey coach on the side. So, hockey came back a little bit, even though I gave up on it. Okay, so I'll now talk a bit more about what a career change involves. And again, these are based on my experience going from D-Wave to EA, especially since that is a full-on career change. Some of it can apply to going from like academia to D-Wave, which is like a more researchy position. But again, that was still in research domain, very close to academia. So I would say everything I'm going to say more is for D-Wave, so the research domain to a full-on career change. Okay, things you need for a career change. A lot of luck. That's because you have to be able to somehow either trick HR, know someone in HR, or somehow avoid HR. In my case, I avoided HR. And that was, again, pure luck. At the time, they had the system at EA where they were sending everyone's resume to all of the hiring managers. And my manager at the time looked at my resume and told HR that they wanted to interview me. Otherwise, most of the time in all the companies, everything gets cut at HR. And they, especially if you're coming from a different domain, they're like, no, I'm looking for these keywords. I'm not looking for a physicist, or I'm not looking for a chemist, out the door. So that's where the luck comes in. And that is the biggest thing, I would say. And even if you like put an internal application, try to make sure whoever's putting your application does not go to HR, but go to the hiring manager directly. Yeah, so that's like the biggest, most important thing. The second thing is an updated resume. And again, along with it comes persistence. You have to update your resume for every single job that you're applying to. And again, I'm going to talk about resumes a lot more, so I'm just going to skip this. But again, things that involve a career change, an updated resume. The third thing is just proving yourself. You're not coming from that area. It's a new area. You have to prove yourself to yourself and to other people at the same time. You might have to accept that you're going to start from the bottom. When I got hired at the lowest level, and I was like, yeah, this is what I need right now. So it's perfect. Just take me. I just need to go somewhere. So you have to just know that it's going to take some time, again, to prove to yourself and to others that you can do this career change. But eventually, if someone hired you, probably they did see something in you, and that's why they hired you. So keep that in mind. And finally, support. So in this instance, I mean people that are close to you, just talk to them. And the reason why I'm saying it is the thing that feels very trivial to you that you did might not actually be that trivial. So it might be something worth putting into your resume. It might be something worth highlighting. Because when you do something all the time regularly, it becomes like second nature, and you just think of it as like, oh, everyone does this. This is normal, right? Everyone operates this way. So again, that's when the support becomes very important. Just like find people that will listen to you, that will talk to you, talk to them, get their opinion about things. All right. So with the interview process, I want to talk about two main things. And again, I had mentioned updated resume, and then second thing is honesty. And this is mainly based on my experience interviewing at EA. And as I said, it might be different for other people. So let's talk about updated resume. Customize your resume for the job that you're applying to and not what you think your biggest accomplishments are. When you're applying for a software engineering job, a PhD in physics, they don't really care. So do not highlight that. Do not put it in there. It just makes it look like you don't really know what you're applying for. It throws people off a little bit. So again, that is like the biggest important information in there is what you're trying to sell for that specific position, not what you accomplished. Second, no word salad. People don't want to spend time reading multi-page resumes littered with words that they don't understand. I'm sure the thing that you did where you lifted a blah and plopped the flop into it and then transformed it into an amazing blah is an amazing accomplishment, but I do not understand that. And I don't care that you did that at this point because it means nothing to me. So again, this becomes customize your resume for the job, I guess, but less words. Just highlight what you did and how it really relates to the job that you're applying to. Specific for PhDs, keep it short. um, one pagers, and yes, that means skipping that giant list of publications. You're gonna have to rip it out, like just remove that section completely, and you can leave like maybe a Google Scholar link, being like, access my publications, please click this link, kind of thing, you know? Because again, it's not related to the job. And as I said before, highlight the related work, not your PhD, just anything that's relevant to this job that you're applying to. Okay, so I would say second thing is honesty. The most important thing is honesty for me. Be honest about what you really know. Just do not put things in your resume that friend of a friend did and you observed them do, or something that you did like 10 years ago and you kind of remember it, but you don't really remember it. But you're like, okay, but I did this thing, so I should add it there. And then you add it there, but then in your interview panel, you face another PhD with the same background and they actually ask about that section. And you're just like, I don't remember. I had this happen to me. And this is why I'm giving this example. Like I was interviewing someone with a PhD with like a full ginormous list of things that they did, and I just picked a random thing that they put in there from 10 years ago, and I asked about it, and they're like, I don't know. I just they couldn't say anything about it. So if you're not going to be able to talk about it, just don't put it in your resume because they interviewing panel might pick on that and ask about it. And then the next thing, this is the most important thing for me. If in an interview the other person does not say I don't know, I will never suggest them for hiring. This is the most important thing for me because in the end, I want to make sure that I can work with this person. I want to make sure that when I ask a question and if they don't know the answer, they're not going to start throwing a word salad, random words at me to sound really, really smart. Anecdote, I have to give this. This is a bit diverging, but this is pretty funny. I was at a conference once, and normally I can't be the only person that feels this way. When you're in a conference, like big conferences, there's so many different domains, so many different things. You go to a talk, you have no clue what they're talking about. Like it's just so many crazy things, and you're like, oh, I'm stupid, I don't belong here. This is oh fuck, like God, how does this work? Anyways, once at a conference, I saw two people talking. One of them was like, no, word salad, word salad, word salad. And then it was a topic that I know, like it was actually my domain. And then the other person started replying to that person being like, yeah, word salad, word salad. And I noticed that neither of them actually know what each other are talking about because they were just not having a proper conversation. Like it was mostly like, oh yeah, the roof leaked, and then that's why we put a tarp over it. And then the other person says, yes, I built the chairs with these sticks. Like it was that kind of a conversation where I was like, oh okay. So this is the importance of like, I don't want to face that. That's why if you don't know something, just say, I don't know. And yeah. So the word salad is the theme really for this presentation, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, the trend. Okay. All right. So I talked enough about this, I guess. Anyway, so let's talk about skills. What skills do you need? Like, or not the skills that you need. What skills do you need to highlight? What transferable skills from academia to the industry do you normally gather from a PhD? And I know it doesn't feel that way, and they might all sound very trivial, but they're not. They're not trivial. You just gotten really used to doing those things. And that's why it's like second nature. But these are actually bigger than your accomplishments and your PhD or whatever. These are the skills that you acquire through your PhD. So problem solving, I would say this is one of the biggest things because you just have to internalize problem solving as a PhD. You have to constantly bang your head on that wall to find the solution. And not a lot of people do that. When they can't find a solution, they're like, oh, okay, there's no solution, I guess, then let's move on. But is it to write a paper, to do research, you have to just be persistent, right? Second is data analysis. Research, there's going to be data. You know how to analyze data, and you don't have to be like a professional data analyst. Like you don't have to be amazing at it. But again, it's better than just coming out from an undergrad without having that experience. Like you had to deal with data, you had to wrangle it, you had to come up with methodologies to view it, you had to write that paper, you had to write that thesis about it, right? And next thing, reading. And this goes back to reading documentation and manuals and research papers. Yeah, you know how to read and you know how to extract information out of that. And I know it sounds very trivial, but it actually is a skill, a very important skill. Because so many times have I, like when I was helping people, I would be like, have you looked at the docs? Or have you actually read the error message? It tells you to do this. Did you actually do it? So I think it happens every day. Like I'm not even joking. So reading is a skill that you should highlight for sure. Next thing is management. It can be managing dependencies because you have to get your own resources. It's your own project. You have to figure out your own money, right? Your own grants. Well, not grants, but like things that keep you living. You don't have a regular job in the end. But again, you have to manage your project as well. So you do get like a lot of management skills. You're someone else is not doing this management for you. Someone else is not just giving you homeworks and asking you to finish it by this date. So you actually do learn project management skills through your PhD. And I think Connie is like a great example of that. He's like a prime example. And the next thing, again, this is also very, very big. It's your PhD. It's your life. You own it. You own the shit out of it. So you learn to own things. Where again, this goes back to, I guess, problem solving, like constantly banging your head against something until you actually get the result. Again, ownership. Not a lot of people have that. People would just be like, okay, I did something and it's fine. I don't care about it now. I'm done with it. Whereas ownership is pretty important when it comes to workforce. Not, again, everyone has that skill. Not everyone wants to have that skill, really. And finally, teaching. Probably you were a teaching assistant, or maybe you helped with the other grad students, the undergrads, whatever. But you know how to support others, you know how to help other people, you know how to answer questions. And that is actually a skill. So again, this is the skill tree that I came up with. I'm pretty sure there are more, but yeah, this is from the last couple of years talking to people, really just being the frustrations, the points where I was like, ugh, how? No. Or like when people are like, oh yeah, that's cool that you did that. So this is my skill list. Anyways, okay. So now all the emotions, the pro and con list. Again, this can't be like not emotional. I don't know how to make this not emotional, but pros, collaboration. Um, the academic culture is where you have to be the first author. You have to write about that idea. You have to be in the paper. It was your idea. You have to present that paper. So it's a lot of like, no, 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 I did that. I did that. I did this. No, just like, I don't like that culture. Whereas at EA right now, we're all just trying to ship the game out the door. Everyone is just struggling for the same thing. And that's where the collaboration comes. It's just like, okay, let's finish this all together. Let's do it all together. So that was one of the pros for me. The second pro is less self doubt. Um, again, maybe this is only me, but I doubt it's only me. The constant I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid feeling with the research, that kind of goes away a little bit. Just because you're not doing research, it's not as unknown. It's more like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I can't figure it out. Like, let me just work on it a little bit more, and I can't figure it out. And again, there's no like, the culture is not the same. There's no crazy pressure. And I'm not saying I don't have it now. I still definitely have the I'm stupid, I'm stupid. It's just less. No grant applications. I think that one is obvious. The next one is money. Obviously, it pays a lot more. You don't have to constantly write grant applications, see above, for money. Someone else gives you the money to do the work that you like to do. And then new stuff. You get to learn something completely new. Because you just change your careers. It's all brand new. Everything is brand new. Okay, so let's talk about the cons. Identity. So remember the little Isil that really wanted to study physics since sixth grade? So when I had the job change, I was like, I don't know who I am right now. I'm a physicist, but I'm not a physicist anymore. I guess I'm no one. So I had to go through that for a while. It was just, what did I do? And then the next is direction. Because, like, with the research, you have a direction, you have a goal. You're like, okay, I have to come up with this. This is research. There's more like, because it's your goal, it's your research, I feel there's more ownership to it. Whereas for me, when I first joined EA, I was like, okay, it's a company's goal. We're gonna ship a game. I did grow up playing FIFA. I don't play it right now. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna ship a game. Yeah, I do want to ship this game. But again, it's not as emotionally strong. This might be a pro for a work-life balance. I just realized. I think that's exactly what it is. And then forgetting. I tried really hard not to forget everything that I've done, like all the things I learned, all the experience I gained, like throughout, like from undergrad to D-Wave, end of D-Wave. You do forget. I don't want to use it. It just goes away, and it's kind of sad. Like I have my books, and I still can't get rid of them. I have them in the shelf, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll read it again. And it's like, really? Why do I want to read it again? But I still have that feeling I can't let it go, but at the same time, I know I'm forgetting things. So that's kind of a con. Again, these are all emotions. And then the doubt part, this is did I do the right thing? I was supposed to be a physicist. I was supposed to stay here, but I changed jobs. Is this the right thing for me? Am I in the right path? I feel like I don't feel it as much anymore. Again, I think this one took 3 years to get over. But yeah, so thank you.